With the SONAR Jamaica Plain update, we introduced patch points and aux tracks. These are great for executing a variety of techniques, and one of those techniques is parallel compression. So here we have a basic drum mix. These tracks sound pretty good overall, but in a dense mix we might want these to have a bit more body to them. First, let's route all of the outputs to a new aux track. And since this is going to serve as our drum bus for the uncompressed drum mix, let's call this drums clean. And now we'll set up our parallel compression track. I only want to affect the drums themselves, so we'll select our kick in, snare top, and 2 tom tracks, and then create a send to another aux track for processing. This step isn't entirely necessary, but I prefer to set these up as a pre-fader send just for a little bit more control. Of course, this means we'll need to manually pan these tom sends. Okay, and since this is going to be our parallel compression track, let's call this drums par comp. And just for visual simplification, I'd like to move this to the end of our track list. And now we're ready to get started. There are loads of different compressors that would do this job adequately. Typically you're looking for something with a very fast attack and medium release, so nearly any compressor plugin would do. Since this is a rock metal track and we want a fairly explosive drum sound, I'm going to reach for the PC76. Let's set the ratio to infinity. I really like what this does to the low end. And we'll set the attack to as fast as it will go, and the release to about 400 milliseconds, equal to about a quarter note at this tempo. Doesn't have to be perfect. There's an excellent tool I found online that converts musical values to milliseconds, great for applications like this, and I provided a link to the tool in the description of this video. Now let's solo the parallel compression track. Since the sends are pre-fader, we'll be able to listen only to the parallel compression aux track when we solo it. So let's have a listen. So this sounds okay, but I'd like the compressor to react a little more evenly across each piece of the drum kit. Something we can do to ensure this is watch how much gain reduction occurs when each piece plays one at a time. Let's disable all the sends temporarily except for the kick. When the whole kit plays, we really want the compression to be over the top, so around 10 to 12 dB of gain reduction or more. I'd like to see about 8 to 10 dB of gain reduction here so that when the whole kit plays, we hit that mark. The kick looks pretty good, so now we'll want to repeat this process for the snare and toms and make the compressor's reaction as uniform as possible across each track. Okay, this looks a little hot, so I'm going to bring this back about 5 dB or so. And to adjust the amount of each piece hitting the compressor, we'll just use the send level knob. Looks like the tom is a little on the hot side too. Yeah, that's pretty good. And we'll probably need to bring this one down quite a bit as well. Great, so now that all of these are hitting the compressor at a pretty uniform level, we can enable all of these sends again and take a listen to our heavily compressed drum track. Let's even bring up the input of this compressor a little bit more. I want to really squash these drums. This sounds about right. We'll probably never be able to use a drum sound quite this compressed in an everyday mix, but when we add the compressed mix to the uncompressed drum tracks, it will be quite useful. Let's bring down the level of the compressed drums all the way. This way we can slowly reintroduce the wet sound to the dry and blend just the right amount. Now we can turn off the solo and slowly blend the compressed kit with the dry tracks. Now pay special attention to the way the kit retains its snappy transients but has much more body and impact as I bring up the level. Here's the track without parallel compression. And with. Without. And with. And you can see a little goes a long way. There's no exact science to this. Just introduce the right amount of compression for your mix and you'll have a drum kit with lots of punch and power without losing any of its dynamics.